Hello everyone, my name is Raul. I'm the head of engineering for Bitbucket Pipelines. So a good way to introduce what I do, I basically build software for software teams, and I have been leading Bitbucket Pipelines over the last 8 years at Atlassian. So today, I'm going to share how we scaled code and CI/CD to unleash developer productivity at Atlassian using Bitbucket Cloud and Forge. And I'll share some of the secret sauce about how we build software internally at Atlassian. Before we get started, here is a legal disclaimer. Please don't make any purchasing decisions based on the release timing or the features that we will share today. But let me start with a brief history of Bitbucket. So our journey started 16 years ago when Atlassian acquired Bitbucket, a Mercurial hosted service. 1 year later, we added support for Git into the product. Fast forward to 2015, we added support for Connect that was our default extensibility framework back then. And then in 2016, we launched Bitbucket Pipelines, our continuous integration, continuous delivery solution in Bitbucket Cloud. And Bitbucket Pipelines was built entirely into Connect, showcasing the power of our extensibility framework back then. In 2022, Atlassian decided to standardize code and CI/CD into Bitbucket Cloud and Pipelines for our internal teams. And 2024 was one of our best years to date. Atlassian completed the migration to Bitbucket Cloud and Bitbucket Pipelines, and also pipelines hit 1 billion minutes per month, which is a testament of our scale. We also released Forge, our new extensibility framework for our product. And here we are today, having scaled a product for millions of active users with very unique requirements. So over the next 25 minutes, I'll share how we unlocked that scale using our own journey as an example. So back in 2022, we asked our developers and leaders, and we started to look at if we were shipping software as fast as we wanted to. But we realized that we had long feedback loops in the way we were delivering software, and we wanted to accelerate it. We also found that we had a very fragmented toolchain. New teams were using Bitbucket Cloud and Pipelines, whereas other teams were using Bamboo and Bitbucket Data Center. So as you can imagine, maintaining a very fragmented toolchain was very expensive for us to do, as we had to duplicate efforts across the entire company. And finally, something as basic as understanding our engineering bottlenecks was very hard for us to do, leading to poor visibility into the toolchain. So we had to take action, and we decided to standardize into Bitbucket Cloud and Bitbucket Pipelines. And for that, we needed three things. First, we needed a platform to run code and CI/CD at scale. Second, we need a solution to drive engineering standards and security for the whole company. And finally, we also need a solution to unlock AI native development for the whole company, being part of the integrated cloud with Teamwork Graph and Robo. Let's look into the first one. And for that, let me share some context about Atlassian scale. So at Atlassian today, we have over 9,000 monthly active users. And most of them are engineers, but we also have users from other departments such as data science, legal, or even finance that are using Bitbucket Pipelines to automate their workflows. We have over 9,000 monthly active repositories that are hosted in our multi-petabyte distributed file system in Git. Our developers merge over 93,000 pull requests per month. And as you can imagine, that triggers a lot of automation to deliver that code to our customers. So since May 2024, we are running over 1 billion minutes per month in automation. And think about automation as compiling your code, running your tests, or even triggering your deployments, but also other repetitive tasks such as library upgrades, security scans, or even performance and accessibility testing that are very important for us at Atlassian. At Atlassian, we believe we are obsessed about automation, as we truly believe that automation enables high velocity. And that's why my teams are investing heavily into building the next generation platform to support large-scale development. Back in 2024, we were running 4 Kubernetes clusters in production to power our customers' workloads. As you all know, Kubernetes is the industry leader for container orchestration, and we have been running that for the last 9 years. But we had to take it to the next level, and today we are running over 40 Kubernetes clusters in production. But we believe this is just the beginning, as we are expecting an unprecedented scale over the next few years, especially with AI native development. And that's why my teams are investing heavily into building for that future. But this is all really good, but for a 9,000 engineering org, having a scalable platform was not enough. We needed a solution to uplift engineering standards and security for the whole company. And as you can imagine, standardization and security is very hard when requirements are very unique and custom for the companies. So, and Atlassian was not different, right? So after talking to many internal teams and talking to many external customers as well, we decided to build our strategy around extensibility. So we set the vision to become the most extensible code and CI/CD platform in the market. And for that, we knew that we had to raise the bar in extensibility. So we decided to move into Forge. So why Forge? So there are 4 key reasons why we adopted Forge in Bitbucket. The first one, we wanted a highly scalable solution. So remember the 1 billion minutes or the 93,000 pull requests per month. So we wanted an extensibility model that scales based on demand. We didn't want to have internal teams scaling our own integrations and tools. Second, simplicity. We wanted an extensibility model that allows us to innovate fast from idea to production in days. And as you all know, if innovation is hard, it will not happen. And third, we didn't want a team to manage, another platform team to manage internal servers for our internal tools. We need a serverless solution that is no hosting. And last but not least, security. Security is the highest priority at Atlassian, so we wanted a model that has security built in, providing a sandbox environment with authentication baked in. So once we adopted Forge, we implemented 3 key features on top of Forge. So the first one, policy enforcement with custom merge checks. So custom merge checks allows to gate pull requests based on custom rules and business requirements that are defined at a company level. So traditionally, Bitbucket Cloud offered built-in merge checks. So for example, having a required approver or even successful builds that were necessary for the pull request to be merged. But now companies can customize the checks with their own data. So let's look into a real example about how we implemented that inside Atlassian. So at Atlassian, we started with a clear mandate from our platform engineering teams that are supporting our internal PaaS, platform as a service, that we call micros. So they wanted to minimize bad platform code going to production, and they wanted to do it for the whole company. And for that, they implemented a Forge app called Known Risk in Changes. So basically, what it does, it reviews the code that is going to be merged, and it assesses the risk based on an internal database of known issues. High-risk changes will be blocked and will require additional reviews and approvers. And this is how we manage to mitigate risk for the whole company. But another good example is to reduce risk and impact of bad code going out. And as we all know, incidents happen, and most of the times are caused by bad code going on. So we wanted to ensure all developers inside Atlassian we're using the best practices, such as, for example, using feature flags to mitigate the impact of bad application code going out. So our platform teams implemented a Forge app called Risk Mitigation Form. So the app will enforce developers to fill a form linking the feature flags with the pull request. And if the form is not filled, developers won't be able to merge that pull request. And this is yet another good example of how we could enforce good practices across the whole company. The second feature we implemented was CI/CD orchestration with dynamic pipelines. So dynamic pipelines allows to generate and augment CI/CD configuration at runtime. So traditionally in pipelines, CI/CD configuration is static and is stored in the Git repository. And that model works really well for most of our customers as they have version control with the CI/CD configuration and their code. However, it doesn't allow companies to standardize and enforce good practices for the entire company. And for that, dynamic pipelines brings a new model. With dynamic pipelines, platform and engineering teams can intercept and augment CI/CD configuration at runtime. And as you can imagine, this is really powerful as they can enforce and introduce good practices, such as, for example, security scans for the entire company. And this is how it looks like. Exactly the same as a static pipeline, but that pipeline was generated based on the dynamic configuration from the platform teams. But again, let's look into a real example on how we implemented this inside Atlassian. So at Atlassian, our dev infra org wanted to improve and standardize best practice CI/CD builds across the whole company. And that was done to avoid duplication and reduce maintenance overhead for the product teams. And for that, they built a solution called Managed Builds. So Managed Builds is a way to simplify and standardize CI/CD configuration for the whole company, but offering predefined templates so that product teams can use for the most common languages, such as Java, Python, JavaScript, or Go. So with Managed Builds, we went from thousands of lines of CI/CD configuration that product teams had to maintain to only few lines of CI/CD configuration. And that reduced configuration complexity by 99.7%. And that was all built on top of dynamic pipelines with Forge. Another interesting example for dynamic pipelines was selective test execution. So internally at Atlassian, teams like Jira, they wanted to run only tests that were related to the code that they were changing. And for that, they used dynamic pipelines with Forge. And that was a massive improvement. They were able to reduce cycle time significantly and also reduce costs by up to 45% by running less compute and less tests during their CI/CDs. The third feature that we implemented on top of Forge and Bitbucket Cloud was UI extensibility and customization with Forge. And Forge has been a game changer inside Atlassian because it enabled platform and DevOps teams to build whole new experiences on top of Bitbucket Cloud. And again, let me share an example on how we are using this inside Atlassian. So at Atlassian, we use Spinnaker to trigger our advanced deployments. And Spinnaker is a third-party tool for orchestrating advanced deployments. So as part of our developer satisfaction survey that we do to all Atlassian developers, it was found that our developers wanted a native experience from Spinnaker into Bitbucket Cloud because they wanted to prevent the tool fragmentation and the context switch that brings having two tools. So for that, our internal deployments team built an integrated and seamless experience into Bitbucket Cloud using Spinnaker under the hood. And this is a really good example to show that with Forge, not only you can extend customer experiences, but you can build whole new experiences on top of Bitbucket Cloud. And this is a clear example. But this is probably one of my favorite examples. So at Atlassian, as you know, we have software engineers that are building software for software engineers. So for us, it was very important to ensure that we could empower developers to innovate and improve developer experience and developer productivity for themselves. And this is a good example of how one of our developers built a Forge app for his team just in few days. So basically what this developer wanted to have a way to show who was reviewing his pull request in real time so that he didn't have to ping again and again the person for the reviews. And this is a good example as well of how easy it is to build experiences on top of Forge. And today, we are here in the journey. We are building the future of AI native development with RoboDev, Robo, and the Teamwork Graph, and connecting all the dots across the different parts of the software delivery lifecycle. So unfortunately, I won't be able to cover our AI journey as part of this presentation, but if you are interested in learning more about it, we have a couple of sessions tomorrow afternoon in the RoboDev Builders track. And finally, let's talk about results. So build reliability increased by 40% by providing a more scalable and reliable platform in the cloud. We didn't have downtime for maintenance of upgrades. And also, we improved that for the microservices, but also for the big monoliths inside Atlassian. We also measured a 60% reduction in PR cycle time by introducing multiple improvements in the code review experience, and as well our AI code reviewer with RoboDev. Teams like Jira were able to save up to 45% costs by implementing solutions such as selective test execution. And we also managed to save millions of dollars by reallocating teams that were managing infrastructure and tools to deliver customer impact, which is what we wanted. And all of that made our developer satisfaction increase from 68% to 90% for Bitbucket Cloud inside Atlassian. And today, Bitbucket Cloud and pipelines are the backbone of the software delivery for most of the mission-critical teams inside the company. And not only we were able to improve reliability for builds and developer experience for all our developers inside the company, but we also accelerated innovation. So since we introduced Forge, we ran 5 internal hackathons, we call them Ship-Its inside Atlassian, with 400 developers who implemented over 100 Forge apps. And this is a good example to show that if innovation is easy, it will happen. So just to recap some of the key takeaways, the first is that extensibility was crucial for us internally and also for many of our enterprise customers. So we successfully drove Bitbucket Cloud adoption by letting platform and DevOps teams build their own experiences on top of the product with our own custom data. Second, as I said before, simplicity accelerated innovation. With Forge, we were able to provide a more simple way to write apps, and that helped accelerate innovation. And finally, we designed a solution that was ready for unprecedented scale, ready for the AI era. So not only on our core services that we scale, but also relying on an extensibility model that could allow us to scale as well. And just to wrap up, let me talk about the future of extensibility in Bitbucket Cloud. So our journey is not over. So as we are building new features and experiences, we will continue making those extensible, adding more triggers, adding more modules. We definitely want all your feedback here because this is an area we want to definitely make sure that we are investing in the right things. We are also very excited to announce that a paid marketplace is coming to Bitbucket Cloud. We don't have an official date yet, but this is something we are working internally with our internal dependencies, and we will be able to share a date over the next few weeks. And finally, the end of support. We really announced recently an end of support for Bitbucket for Forge in Bitbucket Cloud, December 2026. So as you all know, Connect has been a very powerful extensibility framework for us. We ran it over the last 10 years, but we really want to focus on Forge, on making Forge the best extensibility framework for all of you. And as I said before, paid apps is the highest priority that we will be working on. And then just to wrap up, I understand that migrations, from Connect to Forge could be complex, could be painful. We definitely want to help here, and we want your feedback. So if there is anything blocking you, any requirements that you want to share, I'll be here the whole week, and happy to be chatting with all of you. And that's the end of the session. Thanks a lot for joining, and hope you enjoy the rest of the event. Thank you.